This week on Cantina Chronicles, sit yourself down next to us as we tell you a tale from the Underworld. The Cantina crew finally gets a chance to review the animated short series released on May the 4th, centered around Asajj Ventress and Colby Cad Bane. We also talk about the second season of the Industrial Light and Magic documentary and the early days of digital cinema. Grab yourself a stool and let's talk Star Wars. Welcome to Cantina Chronicles. This is a weekly Cantina crawl across the Star Wars galaxy where we have comprehensive conversations about all things Star Wars, including news, notes, and theory, synthesizing all media. We contextualize your canon. We are your landing pad for all things Star Wars. Grab a seat and let's chop it up. Grant and Adam, how you doing over there?
Good. That sounded like a Cantina ballad, right?
Yeah. It was sing song just for you, buddy.
Oh my goodness! Music to my ears.
We're going to cover Underworld today, and then we're going to talk about some other stuff, probably the new ILM season, which will be cool. But we want to start it off by putting Adam directly on the spot right now. Grant and I, off air, had this conversation with ourselves, but we didn't get Adam's answer. So
Grant, before pressing record.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, dude, what would be your first choice in terms of force powers? Like, out of all the force powers, like, what would be number one? It's got to be mind trick, right? Mind trick. Like, and then we had a conversation that went on for a few minutes before you returned in.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I was thinking mind trick, but that just feels like, I don't know. Mind trick to me has always felt somewhat dark side adjacent.
That's what I said, bro.
You could get into any playoff game.
Yeah, that's true.
You could get into the museum on busy days. You could.
I don't.
Any task you want to do, I think it would be go quicker.
Yeah.
I will say, I think. I just feel like, and I don't. Maybe I'm saying too much about myself. I don't trust myself with that power to not start abusing it pretty damn quickly. Yeah. Like it's.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
That mental exercise proved to me that it's like secretly a dark side power, but like the light side people get exclusive use of it for some reason, probably because it's so dangerous in the wrong hands. It's like,
right.
Yeah, it's bonkers. You could get away with murder.
But then we both selected one, but what's yours, Adam? We're dying to know.
I think what I would like is telekinesis. Would be mine.
That's where we landed. That's basically where we landed. Yeah.
That's where we landed too. It's kind of the coolest. There's not many. Like, they're not. Jedi are not like superheroes. They're not like Marvel superheroes with this like select thing.
No.
But some people get into the arcane a little more and can do some like weird stuff that's like maybe not the most OP thing in the world, but it's pretty cool.
I mean, that would be life-changing. Like, it's one of those things where you think at first, like, whatever, but like, it would be amazing, life-changing. And also, isn't it the only force power every single kid has tried to do at some point?
That's what we said. How many times do you do this a day, essentially?
Literally have memories as a kid. Yeah, just trying to move things with my mind.
There's I forget what they're even selling, and I don't want to do it, but Hayden Christensen is in this string of commercials right now. And whatever the service is, it's like related. It's co-opting some part of Star Wars and the icon. So they got Hayden, and he's doing bits just as Hayden. But there's one where he uses his hands and waves the like automatic doors open, like I think Ewan McGregor still does to this day.
Is that the movie? He's doing a ton for AMC, I think. Is that it for the? Is it something else?
It's something weird, man. It's like either a lottery thing or like something like that. It's wild, but
good for him. But weird.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. It was funny. It was great to see Hayden as a Star Wars fan.
We're in Hayden Christensen, Renaissance. Like it's just wild. Like all these people coming back around.
Yeah. Ahmed Best, which I want to talk about. He's featured prominently in the first episode of the second season of the ILM doc. We'll talk about that later on, but really great stuff with him.
So good. Can't recommend this series enough. Second season is incredible. First episode, I'm thinking it's on 3 or 4 right now, and I've seen them all, and I'm blown away when it gets to pirates and seeing all the work that goes behind those movies. It's really cool.
I'm really just there for the Star Wars stuff. And the other thing was like, I want to talk about Doug Chiang a lot.
Yeah.
He gives me all the feels.
Yeah.
So
I'll save my questions for later because I have questions because I generally have some thoughts about special effects stuff, but we'll get there. Yeah,
that's a tease, and that's what they
it's
call
nothing. Totally, yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about Underworld. This came out way back on May the 4th.
Yep.
And we didn't cover it because Andor was front and center, and we want to give that its due. So yeah, we talk about Tales from the Underworld, another Dave Filoni joint for all intents and purposes, and other fantastic producers. But I mean, he's responsible for the story, and other people wrote it, but it was his story.
Yeah, and it's clearly closely connected to a lot of the stuff that he's doing and involved with. Yeah.
And like the Tales of the Jedi series, framed very much in the same way, kind of episodic, different characters split between two characters. In this case, Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane, which was super cool.
It's interesting. I will say I am glad the Tales anthologies exist. I love me an anthology. I think it's really interesting. I'm still waiting to get kind of wowed by them. I always kind of watch them and go, that was a thing. Like this feels the most EU of any EU that's currently going on in Star Wars right now. It just reminds me of like that one thing that happened. Hey, let's build a whole story around it. It's like the Asajj Ventress was clearly there to be. Oh, remember how she just showed up alive in the Bad Batch? Maybe we should have about that.
It's Filoni's kind of like, it's a little bit of a vanity project, and it's also a little bit of just the spackle going into cracks in the sort of timeline only if you only watch the like animated and live action Star Wars. If you're not into the books, if you're not in the comics, which is cool, probably a lot of people aren't.
Sure.
Then there might be some cracks that you need filled in, and that's what this Tales series does.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I feel as though it's not directed. I'm not the main audience for this. And that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Kind of a continuation of Dark Disciple. And
yes, a fantastic book.
If you love the sort of like story between Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos and wanting to know more about that arc and where that's all going, I think this is really cool, and you'll really like this, at least the first part of this anthology. But the Cad Bane story is kind of like you could kind of guess that origin story. It was always kind of felt, exactly what you would think how a Cad Bane would become a Cad Bane. So that's great. But the first story I think is quite good. And I think Asajj's story was quite
I feel like this is the case every time. There's one that I enjoy and the one that I did not particularly enjoy. And the Asajj Ventress one I enjoyed. It was I mean, part of it's character based, like that. She is such an interesting character, and I do love, we talk about a lot how Star Wars has redemption at its core, but a lot of the redemption arcs we see, like Vader or Ben Solo, is like, hey, I'm redeemed and then I die. Like there's no like having to live with everything they've done. And that's why I love Asajj, is like, this is a person who's done horrible things and is still trying to atone for it, but is not like weepy about it. So that's why
he completely owns it in this 3-episode arc here.
Yeah. That's how it starts off. We get Asajj. She's just like working at a travel agency collecting.
I think I wrote down like a docking bay security checkpoint, security guard event initially. I don't know what I wrote down, but something like that.
Yeah. It's a pretty humble, quiet lifestyle she's doing. I'm trying to find Planet Toronto is the
Toronto. Wow.
Oh wait, no, that's Cad Bane's, I think.
She's TSA. Okay. No.
Yeah.
And she stops this Rhodian right away, and then
TSA. She is TSA.
She like nearly kills someone in the beginning of this episode.
A Rhodian. Yeah. It's just great to see her. She's got the like punk rock shoegaze haircut. It's great. Face tats.
I think we'll get action figures and stuff.
She looks great, but her life is a little sad. And I mean, so I really want to kind of, she has a lovely story. She picks up a Padawan. She goes on an adventure.
Yep.
But I really want to talk about that first scene.
Okay. Yeah.
To me, that's like super important, and it like gels together the Christie Golden novel of Dark Disciple.
Yeah.
Which is like
right after, right?
Yeah, which I can't recommend enough. It's
so good.
Dark Disciple is a way underrated novel. And it was based off, Golden wrote it off of whatever the script was for season 7 of Clone Wars that got canceled. And but it is fantastic. If you haven't read it, I don't plug your ears for 30 seconds, I guess, like. But essentially they convinced Quinlan Vos to become like Asajj's apprentice, and they fall in love, and it's all an assassination,
like Jedi undercover.
Yeah, which an assassin plays a lot. There's a lot of questionable stuff in there, but it's wild. And Obi-Wan's in it, but it centers around love story between Quinlan Vos and Asajj. Asajj dies. So this picks up with Obi-Wan and Quinlan, because Obi-Wan was involved in the subterfuge as well as he oft is.
Yep.
Taking her to, it looks like some sort of like underground pool on Dathomir.
Some Lazarus pit.
Yeah, right. I had the same thought. Yeah.
These organic pools, but it's very witchy and cauldrony, and they soak her dead body, clearly in the pool, and her consciousness.
Well, there's a teardrop.
Yeah.
There's a teardrop on the.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a great benediction by Quinlan Vos. I mean, actually, not really great at all. It's one sentence, and it's not great. She often spoke of returning here. Was his one line, and his other one is "I will always love you." And that is it turns out on my second watch, that's the key phrase. And because he said that, Mother Talzin reanimates Asajj and says, because he said that, you have a choice now. You can live your life but never love Quinlan again, never be with him again.
Join me and your sisters in this place.
Which doesn't sound bad.
Or return to the land of the living. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, what's this place? Where are they?
Yeah, I don't know. Tell me more about the sisters thing.
Yeah, what's happening? How does magic work?
Yeah,
I know.
And then Asajj goes, at what cost? And then your heart's desire, which is Quinlan, right? So Quinlan dies. It's like Final Destination for Quinlan Vos.
So is that how you
set up here?
I
interpreted it. Yeah,
because. I mean,
I think that's what she's afraid of.
Yeah, that's what I think.
We've talked on this podcast at length about how great an offshoot story like Quinlan Vos, Asajj Ventress, like love story involving the Path would be previously.
Ooh,
so this was like, we talked about it a lot. And especially around the Obi-Wan series, these were, as soon as the Path was invented, we're like, we were on the Path. And we saw Quinlan Vos's name engraved on a wall somewhere. And yeah, that got me fired up for this story. But this was like, okay, you created a device specifically so that doesn't happen, like to keep them star-crossed lovers and apart, I guess. Is that how you read it?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and I think she's afraid exactly that like if she goes to him, bad things will happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what I read as well.
But what it's entirely implied, and not really implied that clearly.
No, it's. I mean, it is a classic curse, right? Like it is very unclear what that means.
Monkey's paw.
Yeah, monkey's paw. And like, also, what if she has another heart's desire later on? Like, what if she gets really close to someone? I don't know, like a Jedi Padawan,
like a Jedi Padawan who saved her life,
right? Like, I just don't know if it means.
But if it's like, if they're supposed to be the strongest love ever, and ultimately, and I'm going to throw the spoiler, and she's just like, I've moved on. Like after like 4 days. Like she's moved on from this love and being resurrected because of this person's love. I don't know. It was very curious. Like, do you think she's like, she knows the weight of what she's doing? Like, do you think she's just like, well, I know I'll die if I try and pursue him? It was just a weird way to say it, right? Like, I just thought it was so vague with the curse. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a little vague. I think she's also.
I thought it was pretty explicit, honestly.
Okay.
I needed to hear desire. That. And to me, that's Quinlan Vos. We just set up was the person who cried for your death.
So they would do that, and then she can actually go to him if she wants, but like.
But it's setting up an ill fate. It's ill fate. It's almost like this Faustian bargain that's happening with Mother Talzin or something.
I just wish she sort of acknowledged it again at the end instead of like, well, I changed my mind, instead of being like. That's she can say something like unfortunately that's something I can never do, and then goes on and like,
but she puts on a tough front constantly, right? So it's all internal in my mind, because she's looking there. You see her kind of looking out at Quinlan Vos and being kind of like shook a little bit that he's there, and that to me is enough to be like she's still like gonna be affected by him.
All right, cool. I needed to hear that. That was my only grousing. That I was just.
That's why. I mean, that's why we get the ending we get. Right? It's she doesn't want to go to the ship because
of that.
Be there,
right.
Yeah, it was just like the line she said kind of passed it off a little funny. But I guess maybe that was just her quipping.
That's kind of why I see her. Yeah.
What do you guys think about her Padawan, Lyko?
Lyko, I love this character.
Sure.
Yeah, I do too.
Really
cool.
I think he's kind of dark though. Like he's stabbed, just impaled an Inquisitor, like time here
in the back. Yeah, just like no.
Yeah,
I love that scene.
Same.
Yeah. That scene was awesome.
Yeah,
we got to talk about that.
I think it really just kind of like underlined the change in their dogma. Now it's like we're not really Jedi anymore. It's about survival, and so this stuff like this is
Jedi survivalist, Boken Jedi.
Suddenly they're not so concerned about the moral conundrum of taking a life, even if they're wearing all black and have a flaming red sword and are like trying to kill you. Like, whereas like I feel like High Republic, they'd be like, no, we must disarm them without hurting them. No,
it's easy to do when you have a 1,000 Jedi with you and you're the moral center of the universe. But when you're on the run, it's interesting. I like the character a lot. I'm glad they introduced a new character. Like it seems so easy to just go to the well and just have someone else. It could have been any other Padawan in that. But completely new for this. I was just double checking and nothing else mentioned in nothing else. So it's great. Yeah.
I love it when Dave creates new characters.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Like that.
And I'm fascinated to see what I hope I want more of that story, right? Of her as a master and him as a Padawan.
Yeah.
And because he has that darkness kind of going through him a little bit, to see if that's like, is it good to have someone or bad, right? Like, is it going to bring out his best angels or worst?
I think he's actually I think he's probably pretty morally upstanding because he's pretty much lawful good in terms of speaking to the creatures at the end and doing the right thing when he can. But it was just in killing that Inquisitor that it just felt like, wow, that was incredibly violent. But also like Obi-Wan would do that. Anyone would do that, I feel like. I don't know. Obi-Wan might call someone's attention and then, fence them. I don't know.
Yeah, might call him out.
That's kind of what Obi-Wan does.
Probably,
That's why you like Obi-Wan.
Yeah. I loved the bit that he couldn't not sound and look and smell like a Jedi. She's like that was a great bit because it's like you heard him talking and you're like, oh, bro. And you never think about that. And I think that's a funny thing. They're like, wouldn't it be funny if someone was trying to not sound like a Jedi? And, I think that was
that when the stormtroopers first invade the little checkpoint there.
Yeah.
And the woman gives them up instantaneously. I lost it. I was so upset. It was so upsetting to see. I was like, this behavior exists in the galaxy. This is people could just turn on Jedi this quickly.
Yeah. That was a sick scene though, because that was like very Jason Statham. Like you go to Asajj and she's like, okay, we got to do this a hard way, and like pulls out the lightsaber.
When they both ignite though, did you guys rev your fists and
I
pop?
ignited also
pop?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I did too. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, and the yellow lightsaber, I wish would get a story behind why she has a yellow crystal, or is that what color her like red crystal changed to when she like healed it, like Luke Skywalker healed crystals in the past? Like,
I do love a golden light.
Oh, too. Yeah,
works for her. It works for her. It's almost like you need a clashing color.
Yeah, I like it. It suits her. Yeah. All right, you want to spend another 2 hours talking about
Cad Bane?
Cad Bane?
2 minutes, bro.
Yeah, that takes 2 minutes. I still want to talk about that Inquisitor one more time.
Oh, go for it. Yeah,
did
let's
we
talk about the
even
Inquisitor.
address that Inquisitor? Do we know that Inquisitor?
No, we don't.
I don't think so.
And
I think
I
it's a brand new character as well.
Yeah.
I love that, like, for these, he's pulling out, like, Dracula's monsters.
Whatever happened,
Yeah, like, there's all these, like, the Inquisitor well is never dry. I kind of felt like after the, like, Darth Vader comic, there was, like, 8 of them.
Right.
And he was doing more damage than anyone else was to that team. And and that was kind of it. But then like Filoni's like, no. There were.
I'm surprised there's not an attempt to do a prestige sort of Inquisitor, True Detective type show.
It seems
it's almost the perfect area to do that because it's wrought with probably incredible adventures and misadventures and dark stories and maybe doing detective work. And
tell me more. Would the like protagonist be the Inquisitors, or would it be like someone pursuing the Inquisitors?
I think just thinking about Inquisitors and how you could shoot that and what that could be in terms of like stretching the stories out and how it could be really in depth and tie into sort of their hunt for maybe their own masters or something, things like that, things like that, right? It's more like Jedi on Jedi, sort of master and apprentice warriors confronting each other in the in the field of battle, like
that would be
Kurosawa.
It's built in, right? It's so funny how long it's taken me to kind of accept Inquisitors. Like it's just like first I showed up, I'm like, wait, what are we doing now? What's this now? And now I'm like, yeah, it's totally there. It's always been there. But I feel like now even the kind of the casual Star Wars fan, if they're watching live action, right, they had an entire series with Obi-Wan with Inquisitors. So like, yeah, it's there. You can totally.
But if you also like remove Obi-Wan from your mind and you kind of think about Inquisitors in a different way, like that's what I'm trying to.
But I'm just saying that you can't. It's hard to introduce something completely new in the Star Wars universe to casual viewers to be like, hey, this other thing's happening. But they have been introduced to the concept of Inquisitors. I like your idea, but like they would be more likely to watch it because it's a known thing, right? Like it's not a completely new concept.
It'd be fun with all new characters too. So you find like a different Padawan that got dragged in and they're faking it. And it's like, that's our POV. But you see like the real tough luck stories. I mean, there was Rise of the Red Blade, that novel that was fantastic.
Yeah.
That is essentially that. Talking about moral ambiguity and best intentions and the fall of the Jedi, which is good. But you could definitely do that in a live action and do it a little different, or it doesn't center on them, centers on something else.
Well, there's that Tales of the Empire series too that I think addresses some of this in terms of the Barasafi.
The Barasafi
which is perfect for sort of what I'm talking about because it is pretty gritty, and I think Filoni gets to a really cool sort of aesthetic in exploring her there. It just seems like a cool area to do some sort of storytelling.
I'd love to talk just briefly about the like design of Inquisitors, because the first batch were like kind of cartoony and like everyone had a series of more hilarious headgear than the last Inquisitor. And you're just like, what's up with your weird helmets? And then, but like Filoni's been actually giving these really amazing designs life for Inquisitors that are very atypical. And with this Inquisitor too, I don't know, I've seen this species before, or this race before, but I can't name them. But it was terrifying, and it really felt like it was swinging just like a regular single bladed lightsaber for a while. And I kind of hoped he had a different lightsaber. I was like, oh, that would be cool actually if there's exceptions to the helicopter saber. But no, he eventually used it, but like still, I don't know. It was animated beautifully. The helmet was cool. The profile was wild. The silhouette was wild. Like I love that one. And then the one from Ahsoka, the Ahsoka arc, was really cool too. It was like almost like a plague doctor sort of affair. It was wild. But I just like I like the aesthetic for Inquisitors is getting weirder. I think that should be the case. And also the Ahsoka live action was like a pretty cool design too. That was different.
But this was an incredibly terrifying Inquisitor. In this,
really scary
episode. And the blocking, the saber combat was incredible, breathtaking.
Asajj is no slouch. Like she only, she went to draws with Anakin and Obi-Wan at the same time. Like I
think she roundhouse kicks the Inquisitor like 3 times before, grabbing her lightsaber and striking him in the face with that.
Yeah. It was cool to see her get the second lightsaber kick to her, because you were like, oh, it's on now. Like that's the old Asajj dual wielding as she did the whole time under Dooku. That was pretty wild. That was fun.
Yeah, the double curved red sabers was
iconic,
inspired.
So good.
Yeah, that's Tartarovsky designed her that character,
so
right?
Cool.
That's right.
She looks so cool in the Tartarovsky style too, and how fast she moves and how violent and aggressive she is. Also, just her telling Lyko that she was Dooku's assassin, and a general in the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the Separatist Alliance. She says, I love the terminology of the Separatist Alliance from her. That was actually really intriguing. Then she says, I probably killed several people you know.
Right.
Yeah. Like, just she's like, you know who I am? And then she just
my name is Asajj Ventress. And I don't know, that moment was just incredible to me. Really liked that.
I did too.
And it was like a rebirth for the character.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much, so there's quite a bit of distance between that and when we see her again in Bad Batch, right? In terms of time. So it'd be really interesting to see. Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, because this feels like 19 BBY.
Yeah.
Bad Batch. Well, Bad Batch is probably only 5 years later, I think.
Yeah. So 4
or 5. Yeah.
Probably.
There's only 2 seasons of Bad Batch, and they started at 19 BBY
right at too,
so it could be just
that's
a couple
true.
years later.
Yeah, it just feels so much later.
She looks the same. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I had to do that.
Then we go to that Nar Shaddaa world, and we meet that Daleen character.
Yeah. And C21. Wait,
Lots Raza, is that her name?
Her name is Lots Raza.
Yes.
Which is cool, but like, dude, she's with C21 High Singer.
All right,
is his name. High Singer.
The droid visuals were at a pornographic high in this, episode.
It was Grievous Plus.
It was outstanding. Honestly, just seeing the droid skittering underneath the tank and then killing several stormtroopers, jumping through the air, flailing, clotheslining people. This droid is awesome.
Take out like the roundhouse where he just pivots at his waist and just takes people out with his extended fists like a weed whacker.
It was Grievous times 2, times 3 maybe.
Without the lightsaber.
Grievous is great as well. I'm just saying this was hitting on all levels.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, there's
weird like silhouette though. The head design,
awesome,
strange. It felt like something out of Warhammer or something.
Yeah, it's like a drill bit.
It did look like a key.
Yeah, totally.
It's sick. It's a sick design. Whoever's like designing, I don't know if it's Doug Chang or like supervising or what artists are working on this show, but they're doing a great job. I
was worried even when he was cut down to a torso. I was worried about
I was worried. Yeah.
Being attacked.
I was like, no, that's not safe.
Still not safe.
No, not at all.
Yeah. No. He's terrifying.
Yeah, super scary.
Those two.
They get off that world. There's some clone gunships.
Yeah.
Gives you a sense of the time period.
The MacGuffin for their adventure with those two malcontents that are going to obviously give them information about the path in exchange was funny too. It was like Imperial relay, like shield relay. And that is the huge domes that are on, or spheres that are on the top of Star Destroyers. I like that for cool. a dork like me. That's sweet. I was like, oh, those things. And of course, they're rolling around.
Going up inside it. And it looks like the cross sections book.
Yeah.
With the inside of those.
Yep, totally. And it's, yeah. And of course, hijinks ensues and they roll around and things blow up and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But they turn it in. They try to capture the kid Lyko, but Asajj will not be deterred. And they prevail. And then go to like part 3, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't get the name of that world either. A lot of stuff.
Filoni also doubles down on the force push at the end of that episode. I just want to quickly highlight that. It's the exact same force push from Ahsoka where Ezra force pushes, or Sabine force pushes Ezra. It's Asajj force pushes Lyko up
Lyko to get to the ship. Yeah, you're right.
Just want to quickly mention that. And it's almost the exact same imagery.
I know. Well, so what got me really thinking about Mind Trick as being the coolest thing was from the Mind Trick from the first episode.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk. Yeah.
Because so it's like, it's funny because Lyko tries and fails, but then like Asajj is like, this is how it's done. And it's like a light side power, but it's Asajj doing it. And I don't know, it hits.
I really enjoyed that scene because at the end of the scene, I think the stormtroopers say something to the extent of, "Oh, but if you see any Jedi, we're looking for them, or they could be dangerous. We'll pay money." And then the lady gives them up, and I was
because she's the worst.
I was
right,
but at that point, I was just really happy with sort of the scene structure there because usually it's like. They mind trick and they just get through the plot obstacle at that point. And it got blown up. It got blown up.
It's a sensitive. You can't do it all the time because you'll get busted and it's a bad luck. But I don't know. There's something about Asajj using it gave me a feel.
The stormtroopers looked really good in this series.
Animation's always A++ on these.
They look really good every time. So, I hope they keep going with that.
Yeah, I also wanted to just, now that we're giving flowers, the score, which I haven't looked it up. I assume it's Kiner, but
it's like the Japanese strings.
Kiner does everything. Yeah, there's
so
a million different flavors of music, but there's motifs, and they're memorable and they're beautiful. In the, you know, in some of the Cad Bane stuff, which is all like country western sort of thing, it's like it's a Star Warsy theme that devolves into like a very just like guitar playing.
There's a moment where he's looking,
and it sounds sick.
There's a moment where he, Kobe is looking into like window shopping and looking into a window, and the score is doing something, like something diegetic is playing, but also the score is doing something. There's such interesting sound design happening in the Cad Bane.
Adam, can you check on this for me? Like I should look too, but like, is it Kiner? I assume it's Kiner, but
it is Kevin Kiner. Yeah,
I was trying to find it. I would assume, and he's just one of the most underrated music scores in Star Wars. It just does such good work.
He's doing the thing that I kind of hoped he was. He's always been fabulous, but like he's flexing on, like this was him flexing and using motif and like not being afraid to like do his own John Williams thing when he needs to. But then he's like, he can be a chameleon. He can be anything, but like now he's really like flexing on all his different styles, and that's what I want to see him like.
Yeah, I feel like they've let him in the last few years kind of be a little more out there, because like when he was on Rebels, he was doing a workman job, but it was very much just like, hey, can you just do John Williams? Like, just keep trying to do John Williams.
But it always felt to me like they wanted John Williams light. Like we're gonna like downplay the score here. It's just gonna kind of like, and it evolved over the course of Rebels.
Wait, so there is a Williamsy thing that happens that Kiner does, and we're coming up on it right now in terms of the ending the Asajj story. In that third episode, she meets that Separatist general, and in meeting the Separatist general, you hear the droid march sort of echoing in the score. Or it's like, maybe it's very prevalent. I forget how noticeable it is. It's like happening in the background, kind of, and it's like she has the Separatist motifs are still going along with Ventress as her story continues, and I really think that's interesting, because the Separatists, it's funny when you look back on history and you think about what the Separatists were, and
because it wasn't like they were the Confederacy. Like they had
it's in a different context than we can relate to.
They were ideologically motivated, which is very interesting, and they were right in what they were like. We're being neglected, but it was like they were being neglected on purpose by Palpatine, who was pulling the strings to force these like certain country like planets into revolt.
I think there's definitely corruption in the Separatists, but I think maybe half of the Separatists were probably planets that just felt mistreated and saw maybe where things were going with the seizure of power and all that sort of martial law, the extended martial law, and Palpatine not leaving the chancellorship. You know, there's issues that I think people probably saw and were like, well, we have to stop this, right?
Yeah. And this guy was clearly afraid of being hunted as well, which could have happened. A lot of this I'm going off of like Legends stuff, like all the stuff we learned in the Darth Plagueis novel. Like there was a lot of strings being pulled to push that separatist movement to happen in that novel, which is great. And we always say read that. But like, so I'm thinking about some of those things. It's like that just adds another layer to the tragedy. Is like, yes, they were being neglected and they like were pulled together and they're motivated by Dooku and his like conglomerate, and they were like, forced into action that way. But even behind that, it was even, it was intentional that they were being neglected so that they would do exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just a romantic motif of they fought in this great war and now it's over. And
yes,
there are these specters of this lost battle. And that's why it just feels like it's in the background. And it's not like you're watching the prequels and it's just blaring, bombastic. It's sort of, you hear like the droid march, just something.
I love your description of it, because it's like an echo of the theme, and it's like that theme weaved with some other stuff, but you can definitely hear it. It's every once in a while like a speeder will roll up to the ranch and it's definitely it's like the march is just in.
Whenever you see the general, right? Whenever you see that separatist general, in the hover chair,
which is cool to see a human separatist general. We don't see a lot of those.
That was interesting.
It's true. Yeah. Good
that
point.
also kind of, I was like, wait, like how many like human generals have we seen? We've seen like an arachnid and like all these other, like that was part of the thing. It's like a little bit of a racist like war.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these outer rim alienated, systems that have non-humanoids on them are like, where's ours?
He revered Asajj.
Yeah. Lady
Ventress. Yeah.
Lady Ventress.
Forever Lady Ventress.
Forever Lady Ventress. That she should be like Lord Vader. She should be Lady Ventress.
Totally.
It's a proper title. All right, so
we can't glorify the separatists too much. I think Asajj is probably the only good separatist at this point. Now that I rethink, let me think about the separatists.
Yeah, they're not real, so it's okay.
To do a separatist episode where we just talk about the separatists because they are like the forgotten army.
Would be,
yeah.
I mean, you got Yoda and clone technology versus the separatists. So let's just think about that for a second.
Yeah, you've got Count Dracula as like your leader, and you're like. And the Techno Union Army,
I guess
you're a conglomerate of like businesses and like trades. Like
that's what I'm saying. Almost, it's basically the separatists are this massive sort of network of different systems, whereas the Republic is operating from a central hub, and that is the Jedi controlling the clones.
Right.
Yeah.
And that comes down to basically the Grand Master of the Jedi Council, Yoda, Mace Windu, those two, and Ki-Adi-Mundi, and
when you say it like that, you're right. They're a little outmatched.
Well, it's right. To me, there's one side that's deeply complex, and the other side that you kind of understand them because you've seen the prequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then what are the separatists? So there's definitely a reason to go into that and talk about it for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A lot of I've been fascinated by the separatists lately.
Yeah, I mean it's super interesting, especially connecting back to Andor, right? Like you can see some of the threads through Andor with with Saw and everyone else. It's just really fascinating how that all kind of plays out into the rebellion era.
Yeah, I mean they're the rebellion that lost.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
I mean the Trade Federation and the Techno Union Army. I feel we're getting a little out of hand with the droids, though.
Yeah, they're not like we're not saying
someone had to do something.
Yeah, we're not saying they're like
too many droids are being manufactured.
Yeah.
Well,
no, they're not good. But who is? I mean, it's just also they have a Sith Lord pulling their strings this entire thing, right? Like, yeah,
pretty obviously. Though I do dream about what would have happened if Dooku and Obi-Wan teamed up.
They've got to do like a Sound of Music musical where Palpatine can just talk about printing clones and printing droids and printing clones and printing droids.
Oh man, can we talk about Cad Bane real quick? This is a bad child and a bad friend and a bad boyfriend that becomes a evil person and
stop trying to make me care about Cad Bane.
And it was super depressing. Like they're kind of
you guys will like Dengar, Cad Bane.
I wish we got
Baylor Valley.
I wish we got Dengar. I would 100%
the next 500 episodes.
Give me Dengar.
I made a little list of people I would have rather had this episode about. Do you guys want to hear it?
No. I mean, do we have time?
You guys didn't like these episodes?
Jango Fett, Dengar, Aura Singh, Bosk, Zam Wessel, IG-11, Rummy Paramita, who's a Nero sharpshooter, and Forlom Zuckus, Dirge, Dr. Afro, Sanos Staros, Blacker Santan, the mods. I'd rather have a show about the mods. I'd rather have a show about the modifier, who is played by Thundercat.
Right.
I'd rather have an episode about Borgullet, Benthic Two Tubes, Therm Scissor Punch, Expert Tester, any Kowakian monkey
Zero
lizard,
dialogue in Borgullet.
Any Kowakian monkey lizard, maybe Pick Muck Muck, who is part of Hondo's gangs. You get the idea.
How long did that take, Ben?
That was like a Wikipedia page worth of
amazing
information. Wow,
that's amazing. Yeah. So my whole thing with it is I just do not like the Cad Bane in general. I also found this like so freaking obvious the way they were going with it, where I'm like, no, the kid's Cad Bane. Okay, I get it. Like, and then, I mean, the best part of the show.
He has a name. It's Colby.
Cool. The best part of this arc of episodes was when they 100% totally just did High Noon. Like the third episode is just the movie High Noon, and I much rather been watching.
You didn't
High
like
Noon.
the young Indiana Jones stuff with the guy?
No,
like
it didn't do anything for me. I mean, the only thing that was interesting was that like Cad Bane has a kid, and like I thought that was very Shakespearean at the end. That was an interesting twist. I didn't hate that part where it's just like, now your kid hates you forever. Like I'm like, cool, good, because you deserve it, because you're Cad Bane.
Because you're Cad
Asajj Bane.
Yeah. Asajj Bane.
Yeah. I mean,
like an anything synthwave
I know
guitarist. Yeah.
If anything, this like arc, all it did was to say, no, Cad Bane is not a redeemable character. He's awful. Just in case you were wondering, it's cool that he's dead because he's the worst.
Right.
And like that's kind of it.
I thought it was cool to see Duro, or that planet where all the Duros
so
are.
That's the
cool
planet. Oh god, it's somewhere.
I liked the sound design again. I liked the chase. The sort of like, it felt like a 60s, 70s sort of like crime film, gangster film. There's sort of this fun chase that happens. The boys run to see what's going on, and you get to see a little bit of it, and it's like cool speeders design. I also like the music, and like Ben's talking about, there's some moments when they're just kids running around where the music's just super interesting.
Honestly, I would probably listen to the score of
score of this episode. Is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a vibe. It's an aura. Yeah,
and I will say I did enjoy episode 3. I just didn't lean in when it was like just Cad Bane as a kid and Cad Bane as a teenager. But once it was just like,
it was really hard to rewatch. It's the same thing as the Yaddle like arc was so depressing. I'll never watch that again because I don't want to feel like that. Kind of like this arc.
Yeah,
so there was a nice clarity for it, for younger audiences in terms of, and I thought it kind of had that Pixar level of narrative design, and which is really effective. Essentially, when they meet again and they're older, and Nero is my best pal from way back, and like you know each other.
You were winning me over, and then you did the Cad Bane voice, and now I don't care anymore.
When was the first time you hated Cad Bane? Because I have a moment of when I can clock the moment I hated Cad Bane.
I don't have appearance, but it's like from his first appearance. What's yours?
No, I meant in this in his evolution in real time. BBY.
Interesting. I don't. What was yours? Tell me yours.
When he started affecting that weird gangster accent.
Yes, the accent
as a teenager.
Yeah,
that's when I was like, "Oh, this guy's terrible."
So that's the thing is like, I don't want to I'm not saying this. What I'm saying, I'm not trying to go at.
You guys are reading this all wrong.
I'm not trying to.
I feel bad for you guys. It's actually genius that he's like eating the crunchies, and you kind of hear the accent taking form in this episode. There's almost a birth of the
fact that it's an affected accent.
So Grant, here's the thing. All the pieces are fine. All the pieces are fine. It's the writers did a great job. I hate this character. I hate this character. And so like you can write a really great thing around a character, but if I hate him, I'm just not going to enjoy it. And that's, to be honest, where I'm at. Like, yes, if it was a different character, I'd be fine. Very interesting. But you're making me watch Cad Bane for this long, and I just can't. I just cannot do it.
It does feel like
I already hate him, Dave. I already hate him.
Yeah, job done. Move on. Yeah.
I was fascinated by the show at times because it just felt like it was a sort of roaring 20s with Duros or something, and I was just like, what is happening right now? It's like, okay.
When I could divorce myself from Cad Bane, I was really enjoying it. Like I really liked the third episode because I was just enjoying more time spent with the other Duros, right? The other other like I thought that was interesting.
Or Aaron, sorry. That's it. It was beautifully made.
Yeah, absolutely. No shame on the writers or directors or anything like that. Yeah.
It's just an in-galaxy hatred of Cad Bane.
Exactly. Yeah.
Goodness. Let's move along here. I don't know. We've been talking for a minute, but I did just watch the first episode of the second season of ILM. Really when Lucas is cooking up Phantom Menace. And like it's all coming together in digital film, and mocap is all being invented, and it was just like a really great episode. Grant, I know you saw it too.
Yeah,
I kind of want to hone in on that because there's just such good vibes coming off that.
Cool. It's directed by Joe Johnston. It's so cool to sort of have a creative heavy.
He actually directed the. Oh, he's great. Yeah, I like Dave Johnson a lot.
They all sit. It's a bit. They all sit down and they say, "Hey, Joe."
And so so you get these real candid, especially with Doug Trumbull, who they basically superimpose him in different scenes in Twister and Jurassic Park and all types of movies like Close Encounters and all types of things.
It was cool how they did that. They like super.
It's really cool
over their movies and their action. And,
that was super. That's kind of what I've noticed is maybe different from the first season because I don't remember them doing that in the first season.
Yeah.
There's a really touching moment, I think, early when they're saying goodbye to one of the studios there, where they were initially for so long. And that maybe that's in episode 2. It's pretty cool.
Oh, okay. Maybe that. Yeah, I don't think I was on that one. Yeah. I loved it because it's like, I mean, first part is really talking about like, one thing that I would probably say first, if someone's like, why was George Lucas why is he revered as much as he is? I mean, the first thing I'd point to is that he created digital cinema. I mean, granted, he was the guy holding the whip and people at ILM were creating digital cinema, but he was the one that willed it into being with this team, and that shouldn't be undervalued.
No, he's ahead of his time every time, right? Like in the 70s and in the late 90s, early 2000s, you may not like what he did with some of the stuff in it, but like we owe so much of modern filmmaking to what he did. I mean, he basically created Pixar too. Let us not forget. Like it's wild. Yeah. No one ever talks about that. Like
ILM,
Pixar.
But I mean, ILM too. They're all hand in hand on this. And this is really focusing on the workers, but also George being that guy in the room.
Lucas Animation, essentially.
Yeah. Yep. So it's like the whole like principle of this one episode is kind of like, when is George going to make the prequels? Like, when is he going to do it? And he does it. And in, the movie that makes it happen is the movie Dragonheart. Like he was waiting for the technology to get close. And then he was going to push the technology into
he saw Dragonheart. He saw how they did Sean Connery's face. So like, cool when they talk about how they did the whole like affectations. They basically animated the affectations, how they noticed that he would talk from one side of his mouth to the other. And so they actually just tried to animate that and actually looked really, really good because it's just how Sean Connery talks.
Quick side note, isn't that Sean Connery's last role in film?
In a film?
Yeah, in film. Like I think that's the last thing he did was Dragonheart, which is
I would find that surprising because that was like 97 or something. He must have done something after that, right?
Maybe.
I think he's done
96. Yeah, he must have. Was it League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Oh yeah, that would
be
The
Rock.
The Rock. There was more. So no, I think is fair. Right. I'm pretty confident about that. But so they did that, and then they were like, George is like, we can make this happen, and then hilarity ensues. But so they talk in depth about how they're making Phantom Menace, and two things stood out to me. One was Ahmad Best, as he was
so heartfelt and
and
wow, like just what you learn.
I mean, essentially Lucas was looking for a Buster Keaton, and they did a bunch of concept art, and then a woman that I forget her name that was in the casting department went to Stomp and saw him at Stomp in San Francisco. It was like he's moving exactly. He did like a screen test and killed it, and they all loved him. And they were like, his frenetic action and comic relief is like essential to this movie. And then it was really Buster Keaton. He's like, I spent 2 years hanging out with George Lucas, and we looked at so much film together, and it's just like how like thought out it was, and like what a lovely man Ahmed Best is.
He's super talented. When you see when you watch Jar Jar over and over and over again in those. And see what Ahmed's doing, and sort of, and knowing that George and him watched, numerous Buster Keaton films, Chaplin films, all types of stuff to sort of get into the mode of basically creating this character with really accentuated actions that really play out the comedy, and like the comedy really works because of that performance. And George kept saying this one thing to him over and over and over again, which is, you're going to be everyone's favorite character in 10 years. Like people won't understand right now, but in 10 years you'll be everyone's favorite character. And he wasn't
not wrong.
The Darth Jar Jar stuff has taken off. It's basically like the biggest meme of Star Wars in the last 5 years.
I mean, that episode ends with them reading the New York Times review, which I don't remember, but I guess it wasn't great. But like, I don't know. I loved the movie when it came out, and Jar Jar didn't bother me at all.
I was like 10, so it was
awesome.
Critical hit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was in college.
But now I see it. I'm like, jump cut. What's going on here? This is, there's flaws I see now in the film, but Jar Jar is never a component of the film where I'm like, this is a flawed part of the film. This is to me was always like, you need a range of characters, and to me, this character is the comedic relief. I wouldn't say that R2 is doing as much comedy as Jar Jar is, and he's highly depended on in the original trilogy.
I will say I'm not a huge fan of Jar Jar. It doesn't really do it for me, but I've never held that against Ahmed Best. I think he does an amazing job at that character. But I don't like, it's so funny. I don't sit there and I don't hate on it, right? Like it doesn't aggravate me as it used to. It just doesn't connect for me, but it's not for me, right? Like, it's for kids, and I cannot wait to watch that movie with my daughter, who's going to love Jar Jar, and I'm fine with it.
I'm going to watch it after we record this. It got me so fired up for that movie.
It's so interesting how much it doesn't bother me anymore. Like, I don't resonate with me, but when we saw those in the theater,
Adam, I bet you do like Jar Jar, and I'll tell you why. Is because if you're with Ahmed Best and he does Jar Jar,
you would lose your shit.
You'd lose your mind. You would be like, no way.
If he
it isn't, he activates. It is different from who he is, and it's a powerful thing. It's super. Just turn on. It's very cool.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to see. I'm sure it's amazing to watch. And the other thing I was going to say is just like, I think, Grant, that's the thing, is like, now when I watch Phantom Menace, it like you said, there's other things in it that I bump up against, and I just don't bump up against Jar Jar anymore, because it just makes sense to me for all those reasons, right? Yeah. To understand, like, Lucas is always playing homage to movies, right? And just like, I appreciated Jar Jar after I went back and started watching silent films. Like, I didn't watch Buster Keaton or anything like that till I was like in my mid-20s. And then I was just like, oh, I get it. Like, now I totally see what George was doing, right? It's always homage.
When you say Buster Keaton, it makes so much more sense. It puts it in a totally different context. You're like,
I feel like Spielberg and Zemeckis would dial up the zany meter sometimes, but I think George just like brought it to 11, like he does with everything, and sort of just made the zaniest character of all time. And if that does not work for you, and it sort of breaks the composure of the film, I understand that, but at the same time, it hit me when I was 10. I wasn't super critical of the character. I just saw all the war and action and sort of set piece stuff, and I was just loved the Jedi, and Jar Jar was just a part of the journey. He was a part of the ensemble.
It was just easy to pile on him. I like looking back at that era. It just felt like there's a large proportion that were not super psyched about what the prequels are doing, and for whatever reason didn't resonate with. I mean, it resonated with so many. I mean, it's so much money, but like the online version of whatever the online version was back then, it didn't resonate, and it just is just like, let's just focus on this one thing, right? That we can pile on. And it's just when you look back on it.
They talk about that in the episode, in the first episode.
It just reminds me of it reminds me of the Britney Spears stuff, right? Like, it's so weird that just like we find like one person or one thing to
when you rise society too high,
go after.
But it's also cinema history. It's the first digital character.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
This is outstanding work.
I just have such good feels around that movie. I remember I was like a senior in college in going to see it. And I mean, I was just like, I can't believe I'm finally going to see another Star Wars.
Yeah.
And like, was so pumped. And I watched it, I don't know, 5-6 times in the theater, and just the magic around it. And it was so different, and it was like so wild. And like, but I loved it. It was it was like a new pair of jeans that you never.
Queen Amidala, like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So transcendent performance, I thought.
Yeah. So just seeing,
and then down from there, I almost
awesome stuff.
Yeah, I think we could talk about the prequels for the longest time in terms of like what happened there, but the science of what ILM is doing in terms of inventing new ways to do digital characters and digital, set extensions and do all these new digital elements and add these digital characters and stuff like that. That's so cool. And using models and sort of mixing the two.
Mixing both media.
And they get to Mustafar eventually, and you learn that Mustafar was a model essentially.
That's really cool.
They used some plasma and lit it from underneath to get the lava effect, and
when
then there's tons of digital, stuff on top, right?
Yeah,
that's really cool.
The other part that like absolutely tickled my heartstrings was the Doug Chang stuff. Like, that dude
genius
has always been a G. There's always one scene that it must have been like an extra to the DVD or the Blu-ray of like either Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace, and it was like Doug Chang with like a massive styrofoam board of 1 million pictures of the coolest stuff you've ever seen in your life, and then George Lucas walking around being like, "Yep." I like that. Not so much that.
I know. I love that. I just think of that all the time.
It's iconic, and I'm just like, I want to be Doug Chang. And then this really gave his background, his origin story, where he came from. He was already like a producer or like a project manager or head of creative, I think, at Lucasfilm, but he had to like reapply to get this gig as an actual artist. And it's like, he's so humble. He's like, I've never been a good artist. And they're showing his art and he's jaw dropping. And like the emotion and like his just like, drawings and like charcoal strokes and like the way he like his pencil drawings, it's ridiculous. And he's just such a humble, lovely man. And like, that was a super highlight for me because his designs, I mean, George probably threw out 20 to 1 designs that he made, and those 20 would like, there's filmmakers that would kill for this.
Yeah.
What's so funny to me is that it feels like the design of Star Wars was always like George rambling and artists sort of drawing down what he's saying. And you have Ralph McQuarrie and Joe Johnston, other artists doing that in the original trilogy. And then you essentially, in this ILM doc, you basically see Doug Chang being this filter for George, and George just explaining ideas. And Doug Chang would be like, "Oh, he said he wanted the idea to be like this, and so we changed it like that." And it's so interesting because I feel like and Doug Chang is definitely that artist for the prequels. That like the prequels are essentially Doug Chang's vision. George is informing the designs, but
George wanted like a sea change in vision. He said, I wanted to look entirely new, which I love. I wish there'd be another Star Wars filmmaker that'd be like, I want it to look entirely new. Like, I want to see that.
I think that's about to happen. I think that might be the Mangold thing or something. I don't know what that is, but
that has to be. But I hope
the Kinberg might do something new, different.
Well, hopefully Starfighter should like set the precedent for sort of what it's going to be. I think like he can.
I think it's just Top Gun in Star Wars. I really don't think you're going to get anything too.
But I mean, I'm the guy that's going to be looking at the design of the gas station that they're standing at. It's like, is it OT inspired? Is it sequel inspired? Is it High Republic inspired? Like, what are they doing? Is that Art Deco? Like, I'm going to like be just looking at the lines, being like, what are we trying to do here?
Let me spoil it for you. It's going to be OT.
Yeah,
related because everyone wants OT. But no, I'm with you, Ben. I can't wait to see it. I just hope they iterate on it. And to kind of go back to what I was saying way at the beginning of the episode is like you both answered my question, or that I had kind of going to this, which is like, to be honest, I loved the first season of this, and by the end of that season, it was getting into the digital stuff, and I found the Jurassic Park transition really, really interesting. And then I'm just like, and then it's hard for me to get as excited about digital special effects as practical. And I don't mean that in terms of my viewing. Like, I don't mind digital effects when I'm viewing at all. I just like, I have such like nostalgia for like those
film,
for film and those documentaries at the beginning of the box sets where like you'd watch the guys on pickup trucks run by and throw firecrackers at battleship bashing. And so, but like the way you're describing it is like, yep, I'm totally on board. I totally want to see this. I'm fascinated that they're going more into sometimes the personalities, which is something I loved in the first season, like the personalities you'd be introduced to. So definitely going to watch this soon. And I know
there's a lot of cool practical stuff that they do.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still there.
It actually blows my mind.
Like much of episode 1 was models that we don't realize.
They made that model of the arena for the pod race.
The Petronaki arena. Petronaki.
No, that's
arena.
in Geonosis.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's the
Punta Eve.
The Punta Eve. Oh, okay.
Punta Classic. Yeah.
Classic.
I forget what the name of it was.
I can't remember.
It's on there. And I mean, it's like life size. Like if you're standing on the track, the hills and the mountains would be above your head. It was huge. And he just like made it in the parking lot, and it's aged and it's camera ready and it's beautiful and there's miniatures and like he just like
George loved it.
George walks out and he's like, yeah, good. Yeah. And then like walks away. And it was only until later that the designer found out that he's been raving about it. But it was like,
how right. Yeah, they were worried about the design, and then they hear later that he's speaking to someone else.
I would have fainted if I was George when I saw that. I mean, it's like when did you make that?
Right?
It's for me that would be
so funny.
Like half a year of work to make that.
It's wild. Yeah.
They were talking about the pod racers being incredibly complex to design, and sort of the cable between the two engines, sort of, and how they wobble to and fro, and how they had designed and how they did the physics of the basically the two engines floating was that they would basically put like invisible blocks under them.
Or invisible springs around.
Invisible springs underneath. Little cage under. So there's just when you think about how the computer's rendering it, they're rendering it with an invisible cage, just keeping it off the ground.
Yeah,
around it essentially. It was
super fascinating.
Really cool.
Yeah, and they showed like the crashes, and it was inspired by F1 crashes and the spirit of it. It was
so cool. The pod racing stuff was so cool because it was like, when they do crash, like how the particle physics works and how things are just thrown around violently.
I mean, George Lucas's favorite thing is speed, I think. And this was his crowning achievement. I do remember one criticism I read was like, well, the intro was like a 13-minute pod race in the middle of it. And just like couldn't get over that. And now I'm like, that's a sick decision.
The best part. Like, what are we complaining about? It's amazing. Yeah,
exactly. I love that part. I love when Anakin goes off the ramp. It's
so good.
Ramps.
I mean,
always works.
I still remember that moment. My episode 1 reaction is so complicated because I was just not in a good place emotionally in my life. It was like one of the worst moments of my life during that time period.
Oh, that's tough.
So I was kind of whatever about it, but I still remember in the theater going like the second that pod race started, like I was dialed in and so impressed, and I got out of that film going, maybe it didn't do everything I wanted, but there are so many great moments in that film. Weirdly, my episode 2, this might be why I love episode 2. My episode 2 is very similar to your episode 1s because I was in a much better place. And then I was just like, this is amazing. Went to a midnight showing and it was great. But like, yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Episode 2 was amazing. Episode 2 was one of the best theatrical experiences I've had as a Star Wars fan. I think Yoda drawing his saber for the first time in the theater. When I had not been spoiled on that. I did not know what to expect when I went in, and to see that was special. That was cool.
I saw it at midnight and then woke up and had an 8:00 showing the next morning. So I did that. And then early days of the internet, there were bootleg copies online. And so I just downloaded the segment with the Yoda fight onto my computer and would just watch that like constantly. Just like I would be like, what am I doing now for the next 5 minutes? Watching Yoda fight. Like what else? Like 5 minutes. Yeah.
I love a detective story, and when it's Obi-Wan and it's when you're past the Zam Wessel chase that's a little loud and distracting. Yeah. When you're past that chase, it's smooth sailing. Yeah. After that, Attack of the Clones is just calm after that and relaxing until you get to the seismic charges and the battle of the Petronaki Arena. But the Petronaki Arena is like you wake up and you're back in.
It's so funny because people complain about the love stuff in the middle of it. I'm like, yeah, all right, maybe not the best, but like that movie moves. Like you're in a different set piece like every 10 minutes in that film in a lot of ways.
Wildly different one.
And totally differently. Yeah.
All right. Well, you could go on and on about.
I know. Sorry. I know. I always try to make it about episode 2.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because everyone likes Revenge of the Sith, and
that's like bottom of my pretty close, if not the bottom of my rankings. Yeah.
Though I really enjoyed it when we saw it.
I mean, I don't bottom of rank of like Star Wars movies. I'll still happily watch.
I like Revenge of the Sith, but I don't know. I'm not reaching for it. I'm reaching for Attack of the Clones, and I'm reaching for Phantom Menace.
It's a tough watch because
it's
emotionally
so depressing.
It's hard at the end.
Yeah.
You're like,
where it goes, and the whole like Vader no at the end. You just like don't even want to reach that point. You're just like, I'm good.
I mean, active laughs in the theater. I saw.
Yeah, that was.
By the way, that was rough.
I was one of those people.
Even though I loved it. Yeah, I I think I cackled a little bit.
I couldn't believe it was like General Hugs. I was like, I couldn't believe that happened.
Yeah, very true.
General Hugs.
I couldn't. I was like, is this happening right now? Is he saying no out loud? Expounding on this?
Yeah. Like, would Vader do that? Okay. You know what? I've had so much. Yeah, you know what, guys? It's been super fun.
Yeah.
We're going to probably continue this conversation off air, but it's a good pod. Tales from the Underworld. We got it. It's great.
Yeah.
What are we doing next week for real, though? Are we going to talk about comics? Do we have...
I'll open up the thing. I think it's a good time to jump back into maybe start the Summer of the High Republic.
The Summer of the High Republic. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of High Republic stuff to cover.
I finished Into the Light. It was great.
Yeah, maybe do that next week. Maybe in 2 weeks we'll do Into the Light. Maybe. Okay. Actually, no, you know what? Maybe we do that because we actually don't have any High Republic comics right now to cover. So we could do Into the Light.
You down with that? Let's do Into the Light. Let's do it. Claudia Gray, her parallel to Into the Dark from the beginning of Phase 1.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back into it.
Yeah, it's this is late Phase 3. This is the most current stuff we've got, so will be great to read.
Nice.
It's a lovely novel, so we'll talk about that next week. Y'all are great. Thanks so much for listening to us. We appreciate it. We'll talk. Like, I'm going to say this once. If you can like and or subscribe to this channel, if you actually like this, even if you never want to listen to us again, it'd be a super solid for us, and we'd appreciate it. And that's it. You guys are great. Thanks very much for listening to us. We'll talk to you next week on Cantina Chronicles.